Okay. So just a quick recap of what we covered yesterday. For a 290-degree angle, we're going to sketch that. You're going to rotate counterclockwise when it's positive and clockwise when it's negative. So because this is positive, you always start with your initial side, and the initial side is always here. And then you're going to rotate counterclockwise, which is this direction. So there are 360 degrees in a circle. So a 290-degree angle would fall somewhere in quadrant 4. So it would be, because this is 90, 180, 270, and then this is 0 and it's 360. So 290 degrees is going to end up in quadrant 4, somewhere around here, and the angle would go this way. So that is a 290-degree angle. If it is negative, we rotate clockwise. So for negative 150, we rotate clockwise. And when I'm numbering it, again, this is always your 0. And then down here would be negative 90. And this is negative 180. Negative 270. And 0 again has 2. It's also negative 360. So negative 150 degrees would fall in quadrant 3. It doesn't matter if we're rotating clockwise or counterclockwise. The numbers for our quadrants do not change. So this negative 150 is here approximately. And that is your angle. So your quadrants are always 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, that does not matter which direction you rotate. So yesterday we talked about sketching angles in degrees and also radians. And today we're going to learn how to convert an angle from degrees to radian. For an angle, there's multiple ways or units of measures for an angle. The most common is degrees. Okay, so I'm going to give you a second to copy down this slide. We're only doing 2 slides today. We're going to convert from degrees to radians and then also from radians to degrees. So I'll give you a second to copy this down and then we will come back together shortly. So when you convert from degrees to radians, you're multiplying by pi over 180. So if we keep in mind what we learned yesterday, 2 pi is equivalent to 360 degrees. If you divide both sides by 2, we get our conversion of pi equals 180 degrees. So that's why we multiply by pi over 180. So if I want to convert degrees to radians, I'm going to multiply by pi over 180 and then just reduce the fraction. So step number 1 is to multiply by pi over 180. And step number 2 is to reduce the fraction. So for question A, if I'm taking 50 and I want to convert that to radians, I would multiply 50 times pi over 180, and then you multiply straight across, and that's going to give me 50 pi over 180. And when I reduce the fraction, I can divide top and bottom by 10, and you get 5 pi over 18 as your final answer. So it's just a different unit of measure. It's kind of like with distance, you can measure something in inches and feet and yards. It doesn't change the distance. It's just a different unit of measure. So degrees and radians, they're different units of measure for an angle. And you have to know how to convert from one unit to the other unit. But if it's in degrees and you're translating it to radians, you're always going to follow these two steps. You're going to multiply it by pi over 180, and then you're going to reduce the fraction. So let's look at question B. We have negative 75 degrees. I'm going to multiply that by pi over 180. And that's going to give me negative 75 pi over 180. And let's go ahead and reduce that fraction down. So the first thing I notice is I can divide by 5. So let's go ahead and divide it by 5. So 75 divided by 5 is I try not to use a calculator, even though that's probably not a good idea first thing in the morning. Okay, 15. So that would be negative 15 pi over 36. And that can be reduced again. So 15 and 36, what can I divide that by?
Three.
3. So let's do 3. I was thinking 3. So 15 divided by 3, excuse me, would be negative 5. 36 divided by 3 is 12. And now I think we have hit the end. It can't go down any further. So that would be your final answer. All right, take about 60 seconds and try to do part C by yourself, because we're already almost to the end of our lesson for today. So try to do part C. Convert that to radians. I'll just set it up for you. The main thing is just you're reducing it down. So reduce that fraction down as low as you can go. Okay, so for this last one, you would have 215 pi over 180. And let's go ahead and reduce that down. And it reduces down to 43 because you can divide them both by 5. So you would end up with 43 pi over 36. And that would be your final answer. Okay, any questions about how to convert a degree to a radian? So our last slide is to go the other way, which is an angle that is already in radians and multiplying it by the reciprocal to convert it to degrees. So take about 60 seconds and copy down this last slide. So copy these 4 down, and we're going to convert it to degrees. And this time we're going to multiply by 180 over pi. Okay, so for question A, we have 5 pi over 6. And we're going to multiply that by our conversion, which is 180 over pi. And what happens is the pi cancels. And then we multiply straight across. So take out your calculators and you're going to multiply 5 times 180. And then take your answer that you get and divide that by 6. So if I take 5 times 180, I get 900. And then 900 divided by 6 is 150. So the answer is 150 degrees. So 5 pi over 6 is equivalent to 150 degrees. Let's do the same thing for question B. We're going to multiply that by 180 over pi. So we're going to multiply by 180 over pi. And that cancels out the pi. So in your calculators, take 3 times 180 and then divide that answer by 4. And you should get 135 degrees. Okay. Take a moment and do question C. And when you get your answer, send it to me in the chat box. And this one should be a decimal. So if you get a decimal for question C, you did it correctly. I see one person with the right answer so far. And you can send me a direct message if you don't want to say it out loud or. Oh, good. All right. So let's go ahead and work through it. Negative 157.5 is the correct answer. So the pi cancels out. So you have negative 7 times 180 divided by 8. And if you type that in your calculator, you get negative 157.5 degrees. And let's do our last question of the day. Convert 3 pi over 10 to degrees. Take a moment and do that. Send me a message when you get your answer. That is correct. So far, I have 2 answers that are correct, 3 answers. So we're going to multiply that by pi over 180. The pi cancels out. So in your calculator, take negative 3 times 180. Divide that by 10. And you should get negative 54 degrees. Okay, so that concludes today's lesson. We have just a little bit to fill in tomorrow. That we will, and then we'll finish out 6.2 tomorrow. I am going to have this recording posted here in about 10 minutes. Have a great day. Hopefully we're in person tomorrow. If you have any questions, I will be on for a few more moments, but have a great day.